Hello and welcome to another video, and welcome to the oldest seaside pleasure pier in the world. I'm in the town of Ryde on the Isle of Wight. Now there's a great trivia question about railways in the UK, and that is, which railway station in the UK is closest to the sea? And the answer is Ryde Pier Head. You can just see here, the railway on the far side there actually follows us all the way up to the end of the pier. And so this station is technically in the sea. Let's go check out some teeny tiny tube trains on the Isle of Wight. Before we start the video here in Ryde, let's do a quick catch up on our Isle of Wight railway history. There used to be about 55 miles of railway on the island, all built in the last half of the 19th century by 4 different companies, and when built were a crucial part of the island's infrastructure. Operation of all the railways on the island was done by steam, but in the 1950s and 60s they gradually closed as they became uneconomical. The infamous Dr. Beeching also proposed the closure of the line we're on today, but this remained open and is now called the Island Line. A heritage railway staffed by volunteers, preserving a few miles of the Isle of Wight Central Railway, also exists. In fact, the only reason the Island Line still exists is because, after raising the tunnel floors at Ryde Esplanade, only very small trains could run on the line. And so, after converting the line to electric traction, old London Underground standard stock, built in 1923, was introduced in 1967. These were replaced in the 1990s by 1938 stock, and these trains have operated the line to the present day. These are being retired on the 3rd of January 2021, but they're being replaced by yet more vintage tube trains, the Class 484, which you'll probably recognise. They're the old 1978 D-stock trains from the District Line. This line closes on the 4th of January for a few months for upgrades and preparing these trains for service. This video represents the final call for the 1938 stock, 82 years old and still seeing regular passenger service. I hope you enjoy this little bonus video of my day out on the island, and if you've not done so already, why not check out my video of the unique hovercraft service I took to get here. Ryde Esplanade was built in 1880 and opened as part of a project to extend the railway to the pier. If you look closely, you'll notice that half of the station is actually on the pier itself, the spaces between the sleepers showing open water below. The station also features the original dagger boards, which are these canopy decorations. Also here is the old tramway, which predates the railway. Passengers were taken from the boats at the end of the pier to the town on trams drawn by horses from 1864. The pier is about half a mile long and was built because the shoreline here at Ryde is very shallow. Before the tramway was built, passengers had to disembark onto the shallow sands and hitch a piggyback ride ankle deep in water on the back of a porter. So for the town to market itself as a fashionable retreat for the wealthy, the pier and the tramway were a sensible investment. Over the years, the trams were variously horse, electric, petrol and diesel powered. The building on the right of this photo has been replaced by the modern railway and ferry terminal, Ryde Pier Head, which curiously has different dagger boards to those at Esplanade. Dagger boards were a sort of corporate identity, a bit like a logo, and are usually unique to the company and are consistent across the whole line. To describe Ryde Pier Head as a backwater would be inaccurate. It feels like one, but it is actually over the water. It's somewhat dilapidated, and the second platform is now out of use. So this is Ryde Pier Head Station. I've got to figure out where to buy my ticket.
And they don't know when we arrive, so.
Wealthy and fashionable visitors will be interested to see our seaside resorts. That's something to be done.
This main hall is shared between railway and ferry company, although the ticket office was closed when I visited. One of the reasons the Isle of Wight is replacing its 82-year-old trains can be seen here. The service has become increasingly unreliable, and only one train was running on the whole island today, meaning half of the services were cancelled. These trains were delivered to the island between 1989 and 1992, having seen service on the Northern and Bakerloo lines. There's a little personal reason for my trip too. My dad was a guard and a driver on the London Underground, and the 1938 stock was the first train he drove. The trains were old even when he was learning to drive them. The trains have had some cosmetic improvements when they were delivered to the island, but still retain their vintage pre-war feel. I can recall when similar trains from 1959 and 1962 were common on the Northern and Central lines, and the smell, sounds and bumpy ride instantly transported me back to being a kid. These trains still utilise a guard for safe dispatch at every station, so you can still hear the ding-ding ready to start signal the guard gives the driver. The line we took from the Pier to Esplanade comprises 2 tracks, but one is now out of use, making it effectively a single line. Here, as we leave Esplanade, the double track resumes, and we continue downhill to Ryde Tunnel, which is 391 yards long. The next station is Ryde St John's Road, the original terminus and built in 1864. The island's depot is here, and the sorry state of the rest of the island's fleet of trains can be appreciated. Next, Smallbrook Junction, a station unique in Britain in that there is no public access whatsoever. It exists only to allow passengers to access the Isle of Wight steam railway, and was built in 1991. The Heritage Railway provides a modern glimpse into how the island's trains used to operate. The next stop is Brading, my personal favourite on the whole line. The original footbridge is still here, although it's now so rickety only one person can use it at a time. It's only ever used to access the signal box, which is preserved and opened occasionally. I also made a friend on the station too. Hello. Hello, friend. Hello. Play nicely. What a beautiful station. I've got off here, in fact, because the train was just so busy coming down from Ryde St John's Road. We picked up a whole load of passengers there and at the Esplanade. And I just figured I'd take some time to get off the train here at Brading and explore this fantastic old station. Lovely decorated spandrels here with the company logo. The spandrel is basically this curved piece of metal that joins and supports the roof there. Really fascinating. I mentioned earlier about dags or dagger boards. This station also has them, although they're a slightly different design to what we saw at Ryde Esplanade. At some point here, there was obviously a double track. You can see there's another platform. They've obviously taken these rails up from the second platform, but they didn't take the third rail up. The third rail with electricity, the third electrified rail, should I say, is still, for some reason, here. Not quite sure why. The passing loop at Brading is actually set to be reinstalled, and the second platform reopened as part of the upgrades to the line due for completion by April 2021. This is as far as the line currently goes. Shanklin Station, again with non-standard dagger boards, became the terminus when the line to Wroxall and Ventnor was severed in the 1960s at the end of the steam operation. It's now the most used station on the line. Head down to the road outside and you can still see the bridge supports and the route of the former line. That's enough of Shanklin, a charming seaside village. Let's head back north and take in some of the sights and sounds of this unique railway. This is Lake Station. Notice how the doors on the train withdraw into a recess in the double glazing, a feature not present on the latest modern tube stock. At Sandown, pay attention on the west side of the station. A small siding turns off and abruptly ends. That is all that's left of the former line to Newport, and you could easily trace the route on a map. Departing Brading, another hidden junction, just after the pedestrian crossing. This was the former line to St Helens and Bembridge, which closed to passengers as long ago as 1953, and again can be traced on a map. Most of the route is now an access road, but you can easily find your way along the old line, and even see the old station building at St Helens, which is now a private house. If you never got to ride on these marvellous trains, there's some good news. The Epping-Ongar Railway in Essex purchased one of the old trains for restoration and plans to convert it to run on batteries and carry passengers. These trains are unbelievable. Constructed before World War II, and as of New Year's Day 2021, will have carried passengers in 10 different decades. we take one final rattle up the pier to Ryde Pier Head. On the 3rd of January 2021, these trains, which are by some distance the oldest on the national network, will be retired. It's the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. It was really great to be able to ride these trains, and difficult to imagine they were already about 40 years old when my own dad joined London Transport. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, just a little bonus for the new year, and maybe an insight into some of the other transport stuff that turns me on, other than taking long distance flights. I hope you have a safe and peaceful new year, and here's looking forward to a healthier and happier 2021. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you, as always, in the next video. Happy New Year.